You think you'd notice if someone was manipulating you. That's what everyone thinks. You imagine it would feel obvious, controlling, aggressive, like pressure you couldn't ignore. And because you don't feel that, you assume you're safe. But that assumption, that calm certainty that you'd know, that's exactly how it starts. Because manipulation doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive with warning signs or red flags you've been taught to recognize. It begins in moments that feel completely normal, reasonable even. It starts when you still believe you're choosing freely. Here are 7 signs, not theories. This pattern has a name: the erasure protocol. A system of control that doesn't force you into anything. It makes you volunteer. It makes you explain. It makes you shrink. It operates through a series of micro-adjustments, small compromises that feel reasonable in the moment. Tiny shifts in how you speak, what you share, who you become around certain people. Each adjustment is so minor you don't register it as loss. But over months, over years, you look back and realize you've been erased piece by piece. Carl Jung wrote about the shadow self, the part of you that knows when something is wrong, but stays silent because speaking feels dangerous. Sign 1. Exhaustion protocol. Every conversation with them costs energy you don't get back. You walk away tired, not physically, mentally. Like you just defended a thesis you didn't sign up for. They ask questions that sound innocent, but force you to justify normal decisions. Why did you choose that? Why didn't you tell me? Why do you always do this? You answer. You explain. You perform emotional labor they never return. You justify your lunch choice, your career move, your weekend plans. Things that shouldn't require explanation suddenly demand a full defense. Why did you choose that? Why didn't you tell me? Why do you always do this? You answer. You explain. You perform emotional labor they never return. You justify your lunch choice, your career move, your weekend plans. Things that shouldn't require explanation suddenly demand a full defense. And here's the mechanism. They're not asking because they're curious. They're asking because every answer you give is a subtle submission. Every justification trains you to believe your choices need their approval. This is extraction, disguised as communication. You think you're having a conversation. You're actually performing labor. Emotional, psychological, constant. And the worst part? You think it's your responsibility to fix it. You think if you just explain better, they'll understand. If you're just clearer, more patient, more articulate, the exhaustion will stop. It won't, because exhaustion is the point. Sign 2, memory fragmentation. You start doubting what actually happened. They reframe events so smoothly you question your own recall. Did I really say that? Was I actually upset? Maybe I'm overreacting. You're not. They're rewriting the narrative in real time. You remember being hurt by something they said. You bring it up. They look confused, concerned even. I never said that. Are you sure? Maybe you misunderstood, and suddenly you're not sure anymore because they sound so calm, so certain, so rational, and you sound emotional, defensive, unreliable. Gaslighting doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's just a calm voice saying, "I don't remember it that way." And suddenly, neither do you. Here's what's happening. Your brain stores memory through emotional weight. Strong emotions create strong memories. But when someone repeatedly tells you your emotional response was wrong, your brain starts to distrust the memory attached to it. You second guess not just the details, but the entire event. Did that conversation even happen? Was it as bad as I remember? Am I making this up? Sign 3. Isolation engineering. They don't tell you to stop seeing people. They just make it uncomfortable when you do. You mention a friend, they go quiet. Or they ask questions that feel like suspicion. What do you talk about with them? You stop mentioning certain friends. You avoid talking about plans. You downplay connections that used to matter, not because you were told to, because it's easier. Eventually, you stop mentioning anyone. You isolate yourself. They just created the conditions. And here's the brilliance of it. They never banned you from seeing people. They never issued an ultimatum. So when you end up isolated, you blame yourself. You chose this. You prioritized the relationship. You didn't want the conflict, but you didn't choose isolation. Sign 4. Doubt injection. You used to trust your judgment. Now you check everything twice. You hesitate before speaking. You rehearse conversations in your head to make sure you won't sound unreasonable. You run through possible responses, anticipate objections, prepare justifications for opinions you shouldn't have to justify. They've trained you to doubt yourself before you even open your mouth. And here's how it happened. Every time you expressed a thought, they responded with subtle correction. Not anger, not dismissal, just a slight reframe that made your perspective sound flawed. I see what you're saying, but have you considered... I understand, but don't you think... That's one way to look at it, but actually, never direct contradiction, just gentle redirection. And over time, you stopped trusting your initial read on things. You started assuming you were missing something. That your perspective was incomplete, that you needed their input to form a valid opinion. This is strategic. When you second-guess your own perception, you stop questioning theirs. They don't need to win arguments anymore. You've already disqualified yourself. You've become your own interrogator. Sign 5. Emotional debt system. They keep score. Every favor, every compromise, every time you needed something. But the ledger is never balanced. You help them once, it's forgotten by next week. They help you once, it's referenced for months. Remember when I did that for you? After everything I've done, I'm always there for you. Always framed as care, as loyalty, as proof of their investment. But it's not. It's leverage. And when you need them, suddenly it's complicated.
They're tired, they're overwhelmed, they're dealing with so much right now. They'll help, but first let me tell you how hard things are for me right now. You end up comforting them instead. The request you made gets buried under their stress, their struggle.
Their needs, which somehow always eclipse yours. This isn't reciprocity. It's a rigged economy where you're always in deficit. You give, they receive. You need, they remind you of what you owe. Machiavelli understood this. Control doesn't require force. It requires making someone feel like they owe you. Sign 6. Reality negotiation. Your feelings are always up for debate. You say you're hurt. They say you're sensitive. You say you're uncomfortable, they say you're overthinking. You say something feels wrong, they explain why it's not. Nothing you feel is simply true. It's always interpreted, adjusted, corrected. And here's the trap. They don't deny your feelings outright. That would be too obvious. Instead, they reframe them. I understand you feel that way, but that's not what happened. I hear you, but you're being too emotional right now. I know you think that, but let me explain why you're wrong. It sounds like empathy, like understanding, but it's negation dressed as care. Because the message underneath is clear. Your feelings are invalid. Your perception is flawed.
Your emotional reality doesn't match actual reality. And after hearing that enough times, you start to believe it. You stop saying, "I feel hurt," and start saying, "Maybe I'm too sensitive." You stop saying, "That was wrong," and start saying, "Maybe I misunderstood." Over time, you stop trusting your emotional responses.
Sign 7. Strategic silence. They go quiet at exactly the right moment, not out of respect, not to give you space, to create pressure. You say something they don't like, they don't argue, they just withdraw, emotionally, physically, subtly. The warmth disappears. The engagement stops. They're present, but absent, and you feel it immediately. The coldness, the distance, the absence of connection. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's unmistakable, and it creates panic. Because you don't know what you did wrong. There was no accusation, no fight, no clear line you crossed, just withdrawal. So you chase them. You apologize for something you can't name. You explain what you meant. You soften your position. You walk back your boundary. You adjust your tone. You make yourself smaller, quieter, safer until they return. And when they do, you feel relief, gratitude even. You've been trained. This is punishment without accusation. You were never told you did something wrong.
This isn't paranoia. This is pattern recognition, strategic awareness, the ability to see what was always there but hidden under politeness and care. Most people never notice. They spend years adapting, shrinking, doubting, thinking it's love,
Thinking it's loyalty, thinking it's maturity. It's not. It's control dressed as connection. But now you see it. And seeing changes everything. You don't need to confront anyone. You don't need to explain. You don't need to prove what you now understand. You just need distance, emotional, mental, strategic. The moment you stop cooperating with the protocol, it loses power. Not because you fought it, because you stopped feeding it. Stop justifying, stop explaining, stop chasing, stop softening, just stop.
Watch what happens in the next 48 hours. You'll notice the pauses, the questions designed to pull justification, the small tests to see if you'll still comply, the silence that feels like punishment. You'll see the protocol running in real time, and you'll realize how often you've been responding to it automatically.
Watch what happens in the next 48 hours. You'll notice the pauses, the questions designed to pull justification, the small tests to see if you'll still comply, the silence that feels like punishment. You'll see the protocol running in real time, and you'll realize how often you've been responding to it automatically.